Everybody, welcome to this week's Dennis Kirk Tech Tip. It's a job that we all have to do, and it seems super simple, but the truth of the matter is there are people that are scared to change the oil in their dirt bike. So today we're going to talk to you about changing the oil. We've been doing it for about 30 years now, so we've learned some tips and tricks and little things that make it easier. So we're going to change the oil in our 2022 Kawasaki KX450 SR, and we're going to use Maxima oil, which is available at Dennis Kirk, $9.99 a quart, and we're going to use a Parts Unlimited oil filter, which is $6.95. Before we start, we're going to show you the tools that you need to get the job done. So the tools you need for an oil change on this particular bike, our Kawasaki, are obviously the quart of oil, a new oil filter, a flathead screwdriver to remove the filler cap, 12mm socket to remove the drain bolt, a funnel to keep things neat, obviously some place to drain the oil into. You want to be environmentally conscious when doing this and dispose of the dirty oil in the proper way. Don't do it into an old bottle and throw it in the trash can at the track. Towels for cleanup, and the side stand that your bike came with is helpful to make sure you get all the oil out. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is remove the filler cap. Not so much for the vacuum seal in there because crankcases are vented, but because you want to take it off and put it somewhere, maybe in your toolbox or by your keys or something, somewhere where you'll see it so you'll know for sure you have not added oil back in yet. Because I know plenty of people that have drained their oil, forgotten to put oil back in, and blown their bikes up to kingdom come. So take your filler cap off. In this instance, I'll put it on our little drain pan. Second little tip, take your socket and make sure it's set to loosen the bolt. I know another guy that put the socket on, cranked on it, thought, wow, my bolt's really tight, and ended up stripping his crankcase. So you could do it if you know where the bolt is. Feel it with your hand, get the socket on. Get it loosened, get started with the socket, get your drain pan in place. Some guys say lay on the ground so you can see it and make sure. I ain't laying on the floor, it's dirty. Also, the bike's been sitting for a little while, so all the oil is at the bottom of the crankcase. There's no real need to start it up to make the oil warmer so it drains easier, because it's all settled to the bottom of the motor anyway. There you go. So oil is going to drain out, and you might want to just let it sit for quite a while to make sure it all comes out. Leave the drain plug over there. We have the bike on the side stand. Once the oil seems like it's all out, we tip the bike up straight to make sure whatever's in the sides gets out as well. So once the oil is all drained out, the next step is to reinstall the drain plug. The drain plug has a little crush washer on it. Manufacturers, to cover their butt, say replace every single time. I like to take it off, inspect it. If it's still in good condition, you can reuse it. I think we've used it about 4 or 5 times before replacing. Still, it's a cheap investment, probably a couple bucks to replace every single time. In this case, we're going to reuse this one because it looks perfect. So just again, if you're kind of a new mechanic, you might want to get on the ground to watch the bolt thread back in. In this instance, I'm old and not flexible, so I ain't laying on the ground. Get it started by hand. Get it close to snugged up. Wipe the hands off, of course. Again, get your socket set to tighten and snug it up. Just want to make it snug. You don't have to crank on the thing because it's obviously a steel bolt in an aluminum crankcase. So there you go. Just a little bit of elbow grease there, and we're good to go. We're going to drain the leftover oil and change the oil filter now. So the oil filter is located behind this cap. 2 8mm bolts typically. I don't know of any other bike that uses a different fastener. Typically one is short and one is long. We'll find out. Here's the short one. and the long one. So the cap will usually come off when you twist it a little. There you go. You saw a little spring pop out. You want to make sure that you don't drop that in the dirt or drop it into the drain container holes. So we'll keep that together here. Spring keeps some tension on the filter. Get your flathead screwdriver and you could work the filter out. Sometimes it's a little more stubborn than others. There's the dirty air oil filter. Sometimes a little oil will come out of there. You straighten the bike up. In this instance, just a drop or two, so you gotta have your pan ready to go. I think that's a small enough amount that we could wipe it up with a paper towel. Get it all out. So, you wanna make sure you install the oil filter in the proper direction. I've got another friend that put it in backwards, didn't circulate oil, blew up his bike. So, there's a little lip in there that goes inside the oil filter seal. Fill in there. Make sure the spring goes in this little channel as it keeps tension on the oil filter. And reinstall your bolts in the same position as before, the long one on top, short one on bottom. You want to snug these up by hand and not use a tool for this because it could cross thread or put too much uneven pressure on the cover. So once I have them snugged up, bust out the trusty ratchet. I'm sure in the owner's manual there's a torque spec for this, but you got the touch. So I'll get the oil filter cover snugged up and we're ready to pour in the new oil. So today we're going to use Maximum petroleum motor oil in our bike. There's a huge debate always between synthetic and petroleum. I don't want to speak on the benefits of either because there's always an expert that will correct you or try to say you're wrong. I just do know that typically synthetics last longer, but they are also a little bit harder on your clutch plates. But we've had really good luck with petroleum oil, especially Maxima products, which are available at Dennis Kirk. I like to use a funnel because messes are no fun. If you don't change your oil filter, you can count on adding like 30 cc's less, but typically most bikes take 1 quart of oil. There are some engines, some of the European bikes that like a little bit more than 1 quart, but in the case of the Kawasaki, we've learned that you change the oil filter, 1 quart is the perfect amount. So, not really much how-to in pouring motor oil into an engine, but we'll do it for Hollywood's sake anyway. Okay, since we have the filler cap plug off so that we don't forget to put oil in, all we got to do now is put it back on. As is the case with all fasteners, you want to start it by hand so you don't cross thread. And snug it up. Make sure you don't pinch the O-ring and we're good to go. So there you go.